Lord of the Rings has the Nazgul. Resident Evil has tyrants, among other horrible things. Monster Hunter has the Devil Joe. And the Terminator has, well, Terminators. So, Brian Von Vier here with a question. What is the single most widely feared entity and species in your world's lore, and why? It could be anyone or anything that commands fear and respect by reputation alone. Giant bloodlusted monsters or inescapable pursuers are more than welcome. Moon Beast, a massive two-headed quadrupedal bird, bird-like creature that lives inside the moon, using it as an egg in an attempt to hatch. The rune that harnesses the moon's esoteric powers has also been permanently etched onto the creature's chest due to how intrinsically linked the Moon Beast and the moon are. Only a handful of people even know of its existence. Now, another commenter asked, is it hatching an apocalypse event for the world? Are any nations or groups planning countermeasures? If gods exist in the setting, did they leave any insurance policies against things like this? It's 100% an apocalyptic event, considering the moon is a pretty important thing to have, and it's not even accounting for having to fend off the beast itself. Now, when it comes to countermeasures, there isn't a lot that people can do, and most people have accepted that. A lot of kingdoms have tried to make giant versions of cannons and bombs, but that's all in vain, as the only person who's done something substantial is the Guardian of the World, who has just been delaying its hatching for as long as he's lived. Unfortunately, the gods really can't do much either, as that rune that was etched onto the creature's chest, it technically outranks the gods on the divine hierarchy, which is a big problem. And the rune considers the Moon Beast as sacred. The Chimera and her curse. The legend goes that the Chimera was a being so corrupt that she unbalanced the force of magic itself. An ever-shifting mass of raw energy in the shape of a warped and twisted beast, with some aspects of lion, goat, and snake plaguing the land that she walked on. A group of heroes managed to slay her and went on to found the major kingdoms of the world, but in her last act, she created the Chimera's curse, spreading into the land and air around her for miles, turning it into a wasteland effectively full of magical radiation that screws up your DNA with other creatures the closer you get to her final resting place. Kind of like the shimmer from Annihilation, if you know what that means. Her curse also affected all magic, everywhere, although it's stronger closest to where she died. Anyone who draws on too much magical energy at once will start to warp and twist, growing features from random creatures and elements they encounter, like a slowly corrupting cancer spreading up the body whenever they use their powers. There's no way to stop it once it starts, aside from never using magic again, which is not easy in a world where everyone has magic by default. Of course, the actual truth is more complicated, and the common story is effectively propaganda, but the curse itself is very much real, and absolutely nightmarish for a person to become fused with another species or a random object and lose access to a crucial aspect of everyday life. Probably the Crowman. They were the nomadic tribes that inhabited the northern steppes, which used to be lush and verdant. During the final years of the Age of Destruction and Rejuvenation, the clash between primordial races and the beast races in the Mordian continent caused a sudden shift in temperature across all realms, which froze some regions, including the steppes. This caused the nomads to flee south and, in turn, displace the local inhabitants. This resulted in the second bloodiest time period, the Age of Crows, which also fueled the rise of a small pocket of resistance in the most powerful nation in the world several millennia in the future. The original Crowman are more like a legend now. Some believe they were beastmen who fled from the Mordian continent and that they looked like humanoid crows. Some think it was because they favored riding giant flightless crows into battle and that crows are their sacred animal. Nobody remembers except the divine beings who lived during those times, but it seems to be a taboo to talk about them. Isatolis, the goddess of the swarm, I hope I pronounced that correctly. She's responsible for deaths that count rivaling wars in sheer scale. Due to her elusive nature, she is amongst the deadliest free-roaming entities in the world. She's roughly a horse-sized legion crab burrowing trilobite who awakened her divinity and pushed her kind to consume and destroy all that stands before them, resulting in the normally lobster-sized and relatively docile creatures forming swarms or legions, well known for devastating environments and lethal attacks on the world's peoples. While concentrated efforts are made to take down legions when and where they appear, Isodales herself has only been cornered once, with the few lucky survivors taking of spear-like legs and armor a match for any metal. In the La Roca bogs, there lives a mythical creature that terrifies the nightmares of the residents of Astria. These lizard-like creatures with scaly skin and spines down their back stand 15 feet tall when standing on their hind legs. They do not move as fast on two legs, but when they stalk their prey through the swamps, they are able to swim or crawl on all fours with an unnatural swiftness. Their scariest features are not their razor-sharp 6-inch claws, nor their mouthful of teeth which can slice through even the toughest of flesh. It is not their extreme strength, being able to uproot and throw trees at their prey. Oh no, their scariest feature is what they do to those whom they capture, rather than those they simply eat. For their captured prey, their remaining days of life are a horrifying metamorphosis, being trapped inside a giant pod plant while their body is converted from whatever form they once were into another one of these lizard-like beasts. There is even a rumor that deep in the bogs lives an alpha who stands over 30 feet tall. These creatures are also intelligent predators. When they are hungry, they will attack a larger group of passers-by. But if the opportunity arises to attack a single traveler, they will pick them off while they are alone and try to capture them to turn them into another of their number. Thus, no one dares travel near the bogs alone, for fear of becoming a razor claw themselves. Weeping angels. These are creatures that appeared after the period of apostasy with other dark beasts and demons. They look like a hunched-over woman with hands on her face and two huge pairs of wings and continuously produce sobbing sounds. But they are only a lure to lure humans, and when prey is close enough, these hands will unfold like the arms of a praying mantis, showing a large gaping mouth full of fangs. For a long time, biologists, zoologists, and demonologists thought that weeping angels were a kind of demon. But after several years of study, they understood the following. These creatures could die of starvation, and they were insensitive to the seals and sacred mark, which shows that these are not supernatural animals, but rather an animal species that has evolved to specifically target human beings. Oh God. And yes, I know that the name Weeping Angels is already used by a famous doctor, and I will try to find a better one. It's a saltwater ambush predator that hides in the southern eternal ocean. It hides in underwater caves, large cracks and crevices, or digs itself a nice, comfy hole in the seabed. The actual proper creature itself, by appearance, looks like a cow-sized starfish crossbred with barnacles. Ew, gross. The most visible part of it are the 3 long tentacles, which it wraps around itself when not looking for prey, or shielding itself from attacks. Its method of hunting consists of feeling the area surrounding its tentacles for any changes in electricity or heat. Upon finding a reasonably sized prey animal, it grabs hold of it and tries to pull it underwater into its lair to be consumed by the several small mouths of the skull caver. Luckily, most victims drown before this happens. The name was coined due to the blue color of the creature's tentacles, and also due to the first ever studied specimen's hiding place being littered by skulls and other bones, human and animal alike. We don't go into the water. The slithery demons take those who do. Now, it depends on where you are, but there are 2. Gigaladles are feared in every town and village near the sea. They are ginormous axolotls, 40+ meters in length, and with 6 large limbs. Now, they don't eat humans specifically, but they are very playful and love to nudge boats around, especially groups of younger, inexperienced gigaladles. They can be quite dangerous to unprepared vessels. They seem to love how humans thrash around if they're pulled underwater, and they know to let them breathe every now and then, making encounters with them absolutely terrifying. There are stories of survivors who were dragged underwater continuously from sunrise to sunset before they finally grew bored. Sky terrors are another mutated species. This time, owls. Oh god. They can reach a wingspan of up to 10 meters and are strong enough to carry off humans. They don't hunt them specifically either, but they're no picky eaters and will gladly swoop down and carry you off, especially if you're traveling alone. They are nocturnal, so spotting them is very difficult, and things like fire don't scare them off. If one ever grabs you, the best you can do is remain calm and wait for it to land, then fight it off. Should you struggle too much mid-flight, it'll gladly drop you from a few hundred meters. Oh yeah, I've seen what eagles do to those frickin' mountain goats in real life. I can't imagine an owl doing that to a human being. 13 Lords of Death and Decay. Undead creatures who go from dimension to dimension and start undead apocalypses. They are mentioned in countless prophecies and religious texts. They can permanently kill anything regardless of immortality, rebirth abilities, or whatever destiny they were supposed to have. Now this borders on reality warping in a way. The incomplete 12th Lord, he's actually good and an enemy of the other lords, though he's still terrifying to hang out with as he'll trigger the people's fear of death. Most famously, and I hope I pronounced them correctly, Laran-io Arashai, or simply known as Laranshai, are famous. The name means demon at the gate, after the creatures that were thought to guard the gates to the underworld. But in truth, the Laranshai are superlative warrior constructs that the Makari used as shock troopers, bodyguards, and skirmishers in war. Here's the recipe for such a warrior. Take a person, preferably one with combat experience, who is wounded beyond saving or willing to give up his or her life for the Empire. Extract some bone marrow and all material surplus to survival. 13 brass ring talismans are then grafted to the spine and brainstem. Graft into place the additions and alterations you've cultivated using the gathered marrow, additional arms, improved eyes, feet, and internal organs. Flay the skin from the body. Amplify the regenerative magic of the 4th brass ring. This will seal the added components in place, baking the Laranshai as it were. Beam about 200 years worth of combat experience directly into his head, and feed it about 2 liters of cerulean or better magical resin about every 2 months. And that is how you create yourself an immortal, emotionless killing machine. Oh great! They're famously terrifying because they were meant to be. At the peak of the Makari Empire, about 600 were in service. Divided among the noble houses based on status and loyalty, nothing keeps an ambitious noble with 6 superlative assassins in line like another ambitious noble with 7. It was said that, given favorable terrain, a single Laranshai could face entire companies of soldiers alone. After Ascension, with the Makari gone, most of the Laranshai died. They don't get hungry, but they do need sustenance. They at least must be fed by their masters. But legends persist of these wandering demons searching for their long-dead masters. Yeah, I wouldn't want to encounter that on the road as a traveler. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know down below what is the most famously terrifying creature in your setting. See you later, everybody.